since we have a quorum.
Dare,
Yes.
Corneely,
Here.
Murrow, Crawford,
Here.
Hamilton. Here. Nichols.
Okay, item number 3, approval of minutes of regular meeting held April 26, 2021.
I move we approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Corneely,
Yes.
Adair.
Yes.
And this wasn't in the packet that was sent to your home, but you do have a copy of the minutes on June 28th. The next item is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held June 28th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I move it. I don't know if I could have done the, well, anyway. I move that we approve the minutes of June 28, 2021.
Second.
Second.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Adair,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Corneely.
Yes. Okay, item number 5, reports from staff. Do we have an inspector's report?
Well, if you like, I'll give both reports. The Chief Miller, I think everybody got a copy of his notes. He wasn't going to be able to attend this evening. Should have been in your packet there, but he has had a lot of activity with building permits and yard complaints, currently dealing with, and I'm not sure on the specifics, if it's a good number of complaints or not, but RVs parked on empty lots or with houses and being used as residences, which is not against, or it is against local ordinances, so he's addressing those. He's been dealing with complaints regarding the unfinished apartment complex at 9th and Oklahoma. He says that the weeds are finally cut down, but the building materials stacked out in front of the property are still continuing to get complaints. And then he says it's becoming more and more popular for people to file requests for zoning changes so that they can build or add more buildings to their property, particularly going from residential to commercial. And then he's got some information for the agenda item 6 as well in his report. I'm happy to take any questions back to him if there are any. I may or may not be able to answer any questions that you have.
Is his report supposed to be in our packet? Or did he give us information, or? I don't have.
Did you give it to them, just me?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I missed it.
Well, then you don't have it.
I don't have it.
So no, he had emailed me earlier today, but I saw that Shelley had printed one, so I didn't know if the rest of you got it as well. We can make a copy of it for you if you'd like. But I think I hit the highlights of his report.
What did he say about the rezoning? Numerous requests?
He said it's becoming more popular for people to file a request for zoning changes, and you guys have seen that in the last couple of months as well as the last few years. Residentially zoned areas where the property owners are wanting to add buildings to their property or things of that nature that exceed the residential code requirements exceed the restrictions on residential property. And so he just made mention that that's becoming a popular request. All right. As far as City Council is concerned and the city report, City Council did approve the appointment of Sadie Beer to fulfill the vacancy left by Mary Hamilton. She started, I guess, that June meeting, and then she's getting her committee assignments right now and that kind of thing. So We're excited to have her on board. Think she's going to be a good addition to the council. The other thing that I was going to report to you is that the council did vote at their last meeting to go ahead and approve the form that we completed at the last meeting, and I signed that at that meeting. So, if there's anything else, I will tell you that Business Manager Brady has been out of the office and will be out of the office until August 4th, I think is when her planned return date is. And so if there is anything that comes up, you can catch Shelley and City Hall, and she can try to get the question sent to the right people in the meantime.
What did they think of that number 5 on that questionnaire, with including any disproportionate effects on minority groups? Did they?
They didn't really discuss any.
Any-
They discussed about endangered species, but they didn't discuss item 5.
Okay.
Let me look and see if I can recall anything else they brought up regarding that. I believe that was it. I'm happy to answer any questions. Any other questions?
Okay. Item number 6, discussion and recommendation on a request to change the zoning from residential RG8 to commercial neighborhood CN for the construction of a 50 by 30 foot steel building for project storage. And the attachments that you received, they were also in the packet that was mailed to your address.
My understanding that everything was posted in compliance with the ordinances for notification and all of that. I'll let Mr. Strike speak on regard to the proposal specifically, but there was one letter of objection received, and I think that is in your packet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
The map before you got here, I shared with the Planning Commission that if you do not take action on this evening, it'll go to the City Council for action at that time. So I'll turn it over, and if Mr. Strike has anything to say regarding that, and then I'll come back up.
Yes. I'm just looking to put a building in, looking into the future. I know Arden won't be alive forever. I'm renting from him right now, and I just want to have a building in case something does happen in the immediate future or near future where I can keep my wheels a rolling. I build cars and stuff up there in the old Bender and Son building. And our biggest complaint lately is we get something done that's really nice with a new paint job. You don't park it outside in Oklahoma's weather, or you end up having to pay a bunch of money out of your pocket to fix it. And actually, we have another business out of the home, and we was told when we moved in it that we was commercial then. Charlie McDonald owned it before we did, and the phone company said that they had 16 lines run to the house, so they was doing something pretty big out of the house whenever we moved into it. And we've always understood that we was commercially zoned until we found out with Brian here a while back that we wasn't. My wife mainly online because of COVID. We opened up at one time here a while back, and we was open to the public, but we've closed that down because of COVID. She just mainly works online, but she sells soaps and candles and arts and stuff like that out of there. Does it mainly online. But that's the reason we wanted to build a building. We just want to have an insurance plan that in the future we have somewhere that we can go and have our stuff if we end up having to leave where we're at. And property prices, we've looked into it, and property and building prices right now are just unreal. There's a major gap in what it's worth and what they want for stuff. They want $20,000 for an empty lot. I mean, it's crazy. It used to be whenever I first moved here, $5,000 was out of range, you know. But that's our biggest thing right now, is we're just trying to get a big building that we can put out back and we can use it for storage and to park our projects. And I'm not gonna stop doing the deal on the boulevard, I'm gonna keep it. We just need somewhere else to have an overflow. But that's where we're at right now.
Are there any questions?
Do you have any, like, what's your height? Do you have, I didn't see a building plan.
25 foot, Brian did.
25 foot
Yeah, that was the max that it could go.
high?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's tall stuff or not?
I don't think it'll be that high, as long as we get a 10-foot door in the end of it. I mean, whatever the gable is from the 10-foot roof, so we could probably 16 if even that.
And that your sidewalls, what your 12 foot probably you're looking at then?
Yeah,
For a 10-foot door? Okay.
we're not gonna try to go max on everything.
Yeah, I think 25
Right now,
foot
it's a
sidewalk.
real good time to buy a building.
Yeah.
We've looked into some pricing and it's all been crazy. Hopefully things will start settling down here for too long and go back the other direction. I think it's around 4 times what it was before COVID right now.
Our neighbor put a building in his backyard, and we used to have a beautiful view out there, and now all we see is a metal building. And that's what this person here is saying, is that it'll obstruct all of their views and congestion. That alley's used for a lot of people to get into their house, their parking areas.
No, not really. I think there's one home that uses the alley there across the way. I don't know who rents it, but college kids used to be in it quite a bit. There's a lot of parties over there, but a couple girls living there now, and they just park in the back, and they come up through the bungalow side there. It's all cement up to their drive, and from there's on, it's dirt from there on out, and there's not a lot of traffic. Once in a while, you see UPS driving down through there when the bungalow was open, just because they was getting stuff, and he'd pull in there, and instead of driving back out on the boulevard, he'd drive down the alley. But it's all dirt. It's not a real fancy alley or anything like that from that
But
point
there's
on.
really no view.
Yeah, we got a privacy fence already, so there's a 6-foot no view, so we don't.
But if you're gonna be,
Say if people to the east of you, yeah, you'd block their view.
you'd go up
I
there.
mean, what view they do have, I mean, yeah, it's not
Whatever
a
it
mountaintop view, but for them, that's what they have.
It's open air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that's what, we had to do the same thing where I was trying to, make a building on our lot or even buy the one beside us, and even the two together wasn't big enough to make it work, so, I mean, not saying that's what you should do, but we just had to, go find someplace different that was out of city limits where we could build what we wanted to make it easier, but, I mean, you're never gonna make everybody happy, is the hard part.
You said you're just gonna use it for storage,
Yeah, for now. I mean,
For
when I
now, but-
retire,
then you're gonna start working out of there?
well, when I retire, I won't be working full time. It'll just be tinking around.
But there'd be cars coming in and out of that alley.
Oh, yeah, to a certain extent. It wouldn't be a daily deal. Mine right now, I don't have a lot of traffic. Mainly it's UPS and FedEx is the only traffic at the shop now, besides the pop-up shop that's out there. I mean, they get a little traffic and all that, but we don't have a lot of traffic there. When you're doing a restoration job, you end up spending a couple of years maybe on one vehicle.
Save about a year worth.
And the biggest thing is just getting parts in to do the parts and the time it takes to make everything old look new again. And a lot of stuff we farm out too, like paint jobs and stuff, so it'll be drawn for that. We don't do the chemical paint jobs and stuff like that you would see with some places.
The person whose letter we have said that we bought residential property as residential property. And now, if we do something, it'll become commercial. If they'd wanted to buy commercial property, they'd have bought commercial property. But how do you feel about that? I mean,
The house right next door to us, that's between us and the bungalow, is commercial property.
Yeah, and
Why
it's
do
just
you
a
think this is
residential
it?
house.
Hayla Simon owns it, and she rents it out to college kids that come here and stay to go to school.
and so rental houses are commercial property.
It's-
No.
Well,
Say not
that's
all
what-
of them, but if
that was what
probably
Brian
might be.
had explained to us, that
Yeah,
everything was commercial. up to us.
RG or whatever you called it, RG residential or whatever.
RGA.
Yeah, that starts on our property and everything on out to the boulevard is commercial. The bungalow is right there, the burlap bungalow, and then that little blue house that, and there's actually an empty lot there too in between them. I think that belongs to the bungalow. They just moved a building on the back side of the bungalow, and they're actually gonna put a drive-through, so there could be lots of traffic going through there from the bungalow, because that's gonna be the coffee shop. And they're putting a drive-through on the back side there, so people don't want to go out the alley, they can go down, go out on the boulevard, they'll be going down the alley to get out of there.
Well, I received some personal contact from the person from Halen Chad with the protest letter with a text with the protest information in that also. So I'm glad it was included in our packet. I do want to point out that the commercial neighborhood, the CN, is something that the task force committee that's been working for a year and a half it's one of the things that we're planning on doing away with. So I don't know what would happen then when we approve that strategic task force, or it gets approved. But that is one of the things we were addressing in the task force, is doing away with that commercial neighborhood.
I will add, Brian's note does say that lot, the 4 lots north of the property in question are already zoned commercial neighborhood. But just having a rental house doesn't qualify that as commercial. It just is what it is.
Are there any more questions?
So if we give it a no here, it goes still to,
It stops here, doesn't
If
it?
you give it a no here, it stops here.
Okay.
If you recommend a change to the zoning ordinances, then it has to go through city council. Christie's right, those discussions have been ongoing, and the planning commission has been voting not to approve changes from residential to commercial neighborhood for the past couple of years.
Our last meeting, we dealt with something exactly like this.
Just exactly like this. And you can see kind of, I mean, because won't this take up most of your backyard?
You would have?
Won't this building take up most of your backyard?
Yeah, that's what, that was what.
I mean, will you have enough of the required space around the building?
not
That's
for
why they're
RG,
trying to get
but
into
for commercial.
CN.
But for commercial, they
Because they
would
can
be,
build up a lot closer with it.
Yeah, it reduces the amount of,
The
what
offset.
they call it. Yeah, offset.
offset,
Make you move it off the alley so many feet.
big on the
So many
sides.
from the property line too.
Which they're all kind of, I guess, set up just for trash trucks and big stuff to get through, but you gotta draw a line somewhere, I guess.
It's hard to, one month say no, next month say yes, and next month, when we know that this planning group that we're working on is gonna stop it anyway.
Because their vision there is to try to eliminate those
Eliminate.
pockets of commercial areas in town where we can get more open lots, where we have cheaper lots eventually, where if we could clear out some of the old structures or some of the properties that aren't used for the house, they just got a big building on the back because they can build it and get away with that to build it. It kind of eliminates a lot of those ugly areas and gives opportunities for new houses to go up and let your commercial areas be commercial.
Big commercial.
Kind of fill those areas back again where you don't have vacant.
Now, will this
Spots.
building have to be set up with the restroom and everything in it?
That's a question for Brian. I'm not sure what the building code is on that.
I mean, that's what we've had to, I mean, the ones we've said no to in the past have all because they didn't want to put a bathroom in there and a this and a this and a that.
Did he go that far with you on what you would be required if you got
So it
zoned?
was required. I mean, we was thinking about having a bathroom in there.
Bathroom, shower. I don't like them coming in my house.
Sometimes I get a little dirty, yeah.
I said that'd be nice,
Yeah.
that cultivation.
There's so many stipulations once they start in on that.
The other thing, and part of the discussion has been in the past, has been, once it's commercial until, somebody requests for it to change again. So it may not belong to Mr. Stripe, 20, 50 years from now or whatever, and the commercial designation will be in effect for whatever commercial business would,
So whoever buys their house is gonna have to go by commercial codes if it changes hands? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that any kind of business could go in there, not just a small
It'd just be open.
restoration.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And that's what
Yeah.
their fear was on the last one, that, well, it's fine as a storage building now, but, yeah, 10 years, say somebody else buys it and turns it into, they exaggerated, say it's a Dollar General, but, I mean, it could happen.
I think too, they were concerned about vehicles
Mhm.
coming and going out of there,
There won't be traffic out there. I mean,
It's not an auto mechanic shop. An auto mechanic shop, you have cars in and out,
Right.
in and out, in and out. Where with his restoration, the last car he finished, we had it in there for a year and a half. And he just,
About 2 years.
about 2 years.
Yeah.
And this one he started on, he's already been working on it about 6 months, and there's nothing coming in and out. But I mean, it's one lift.
No more different than my personal stuff going in and out. Get it
We
out of
don't
hail.
bring other vehicles. and
That's
park them
storage
while they
thing
wait on
there,
us to work on it.
Bad weather in Oklahoma, we have somewhere to park
Yeah.
our stuff.
Right now, we're renting several carports from Arden Chafee just to park vehicles under the,
Next one in line.
Did he give you any size, if you kept it as RG8, what size you'd be able to put it?
No, we never really talked about that.
I'd say you'd be
We were
like-
talking,
You
we'd probably lose most of our backyard making it 20 foot off the alley. And if it was commercial, it would at least keep it back a little bit so we have some kind of a backyard. We've got dogs.
No, I understand, it's just, trying to figure out.
Do you already have a storage building in the backyard?
Yeah, it's
it's a wood shop.
kind of a wood shop type deal. There's a building back there.
I think my understanding was that the residential square foot was already met.
It was already maxed out.
That was my understanding. There wouldn't
We
be
never
room
really
to,
talked about it. I
I'd
think
say,
that
I
was
wish you could just put
thing
like
that I
30 by
was
40
worried
and
about.
shrink it and just
Yeah.
keep it as is, and would say,
Go for it.
just shrink it and.
But yeah, I think-
Clear.
if the lot coverage isn't met, you could always talk to Chief Miller about, what size of building you could, put back there if it stayed residential.
What size of lot is that, do you know?
50 by 150, I think.
50? So that's a good, it's not as.
The house is a 2-story house that is in front of it too, so it's a real tall house. There's no view through our house to begin with. I mean,
So if we pass it here, then it still goes to city council.
If you pass it, it'll go to.
It'll go to city council, so it's still not a done deal.
So they still can approve it, but it's not dead.
They can either take your recommendation or not.
Or they can shut it down at that point if they want to keep to what they're trying to. And like you, if you say no to one, I don't see how we say yes to
How are
any.
you going to say yes to another one?
And the other one is almost like it was more of an ideal spot for a shop, but,
Yeah, the other one is.
you're gonna, make more neighbors mad with this one, I think, than that one. But, I feel ya.
was there just one complaint?
There was one that we received.
One received, posted
How
letter.
many did you send out?
It's a
200
circle.
foot or 300.
200 foot, 300 foot.
Yeah,
I had a
radius.
lot of people said they heard it and they were cheering me on, telling me to get it done. I mean, guys across the street and next door neighbor on the other side called me. He just rents that house or rents it to own. And he called me, he said he didn't have no problem with it. I don't know if Dempsey Road would have a problem with his rental in the back, but he's straight across the alley.
We didn't receive anything other than the one letter of opposition, so we didn't receive anything in support, and we received one in opposition.
Any-
There's quite a few different people here. And I was thinking, just one complaint out of 20.
Well, and we've also seen property owners express that all the neighbors were okay with it, and come to find out they were just being nice, so.
Yeah, too many times.
Yeah, I want you to have the shop, but I just, guess we want things.
Any other comments or questions?
I wish we could ask Brian some of these questions.
Can we see if we can call him?
Well, I think if we passed it and then had him at the city council meeting to answer the questions there, and let the council but then if we pass it, the guy last month could come back again.
See if they can apply again.
There might have been a bonding here.
Do you guys have a pool in the backyard right now? Just from the
No,
pictures?
We tore it up and we
Okay.
filled it in.
I figured it was gonna have to go, but. See, not sure.
That picture's pretty old. We're also in the process, we have that large elm tree that's out there, it's dying, we're
Yeah,
having it removed.
Okay.
let's see if we can get that tree out of there, because it seems to be one that may be dying from the inside out, and I don't want it to fall on that. It's sapping really bad.
So how soon are you expecting to start building this if it passes?
Probably next year sometime, probably. It's gonna be a while, we gotta go through the whole process. We're just trying to get the perimeters figured out for now, so we can
Your
figure
ducks in
out
a
what
row?
to get. We have to have some, like I said, get the tree removed, and then we have to have some landscaping done to get the property ready for the building.
Brian's available by phone. I'll get him on the line if you guys want to ask him some of those questions.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody can hear him.
Hello.
Hey, Brian, we've got you here with the Planning Commission and the strikes regarding the item number, is it 5 on the agenda, the
Six.
rezoning for RG8 to commercial neighborhood.
Okay.
I think commission members had a question or two.
Okay.
Okay, if he went commercial, if he stayed residential, what's the largest size building he could build back there?
We would have to, we would have to take his total coverage. So you take the length times the width times it by 30%. That's as much as he can cover on that lot. If it stays residential. So I'd have to determine what his lot coverage is right now to determine the size of the building he can have, or if he can have it at all.
The alley that's between there, have you noticed, you probably drove that, do you notice that very many people are using it to enter into their homes, their parking areas?
I know people use it, and I know that the Vanilla Bean, when they move in, they're gonna be using it quite frequently.
And they're already commercial,
Yeah, they're already commercial,
and apartments are commercial also.
correct.
And the strikes were under the impression that they were also commercial?
No, they want, there's 4 lots from the boulevard up to the next 2 strikes. So Hala Simon's lot's the last one that's commercial neighborhood. And he wanted his to be commercial neighborhood also, so he could build a larger building.
Right. What problems do you see of putting a building that large right there?
Oh, I mean, there was one thing brought up to me about buildings already being built up there on the property line that I had to look into that we didn't have any building permits for. If we end up covering it and setting it next to the alley, then we could possibly have, you know, a lot more traffic than that alley's designed for. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that I worry about is that alley's gonna get a lot of traffic coming up.
That's all I had, Dwayne.
Any other questions for Brian?
I don't have any.
All right, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, bye.
Okay, Joe.
Well, I find this to be a very unique situation because with the 4 lots to the north of them all being zoned commercial neighborhood already, right up to their property line, that's a unique characteristic that we don't often encounter. I think it may be best to defer to the city council and allow the full deliberation of the council plus whom they can reach out to. So I'm more inclined to move it forward with a no recommendation, not for or against. Let the city council feel out what they want to do with it, just because it's different than a lot of them we've encountered. If they want to continue with the elimination of the commercial neighborhood, which is in line with what the planning commission's goals are, I think the council's best suited to kind of feel their way through that.
And we did that last time with basically the same request with not bringing it to the floor with the motion, right?
Just no
Isn't that how we
response.
how we did that last time? Is I asked for a motion, nobody made a motion, so it died here and it went to the city council?
It doesn't die completely.
But it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't die
Doesn't kill their
completely, it just,
proposal, it just moves on.
right.
So that one,
Because you would think if we gave it a no, it would kill it.
we would have, we did not hear that at the last meeting, but we should have. So we will have to hear that as well. At city council, you're right. I forgot that there was no motion.
Right.
And I would get people there to support you, because I'm telling you, I think people will be there against it.
Especially if you can get some of those neighbors that you're gonna hinder their view.
Yeah.
If you can get those, I mean,
Get them to tell them, I mean,
because that would be the only, like I can just see if it's my house and that's gonna block a view.
you said 200 foot, how far is that? That's probably what, a house around it, in every direction, a couple to the side?
It's pretty much
It's,
one street, third, just that block, your main
It's
block.
almost
and
a block, that entire
I don't know
block.
if you can see that
Hey,
red
you
circle.
can,
Yeah.
then the east side of Fifth Street block. So it's pretty much your full block and the east side of Fifth Street. For the,
But I would,
Two, three of the houses right in this area are even empty. And another one over here.
I don't know when we'll be meeting again on the other committee to work more on that.
Plan is to get that back moving once Angelica returns.
When Angelica gets back.
Is there any kind of time limit on getting this figured out before time's out?
Well, the
or
next,
anything
oh,
like that?
I don't know.
Next city council meeting is August 16th.
Everything's still good there as far as my application ain't gonna expire or anything like that?
Your application is fine to my knowledge. We'll have Brian verify that.
as long as we tonight, it stays within the 45 days, it's just still applies.
If you don't act on it,
If you don't act, it goes to city council.
it goes to city council, so.
Just like last one did, right? Should have, but didn't. Okay, gotcha.
So
Okay.
we just don't want to say anything. If that's,
Then I ask for a motion and no motion's made, and it's the same. We do the same with, be the same response.
I think you'd have more research will be done by then too, more information.
Yeah.
Do I just need to get written deals and then have them notarized, or get people to come up here?
I'd say if you get them in person, probably the best bet, just because.
Faces and voices are best. That are
They
prepared.
can, they can write a letter,
Mm-hmm.
they can write.
I was just talking to the neighbor across the street, and he knew it was coming up, and he told me he was gonna raise all kinds of things if they didn't approve it. No Kelly Seaver.
He's
I don't know if
pretty
you know
loyal.
Kelly.
We're just kind of in a bind with this, trying to get this other one passed,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and rejecting one last month,
and if I got approved and they did do this deal later on, would I grandfather in, or would that take it back away from me?
What do you
Can
mean?
you say that again?
Well, you're saying that they're trying to do away with being able to change from residential to commercial. Say we do get it approved, and then a
And
year
change it
later,
back to
they come
commercial.
back and say they're gonna stop doing that. Does that mean I can keep my commercial, or does that pull it back out? I mean,
I was.
you'd be commercial.
it'd be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
more or less, or something.
Yeah, or maybe they might change your zoning
Yeah.
for future, but they're not gonna tear down your structures or make you
Yeah.
change anything. It's there.
We just won't be hearing any more of these kind of things.
It's just, yeah, it kind of shuts down.
The only thing that,
Pick and choose.
the only thing that could, that on your property that could be in jeopardy is anything that was constructed without permits.
And on that permit, I could kind of free that up there right off the bat that Brian was talking about. That building was a 20 by 10, which is 200, and pretty sure Arden was telling me anything under 200, or 200 foot or under, you don't have to have a permit.
Permit.
And we set it on the fence as part of the fence line.
We're fixing to move it though.
Yeah, you
that
better-
was
you
still
better
just
look
the
into
setback
that.
was- Wasn't quite, I mean, the size of it was fine, it was just on the property line, it sounded
On the
like.
property line.
But we're moving it
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
it won't be an issue.
as soon as the tree's gone.
that's just, it's
Have to move.
that big around, so it's a pretty big process too.
Okay, so do I have a motion? Since there is no motion, it dies here and goes to the city council for action.
That's the way I read the ordinance.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Item number 7. Remarks and inquiries by planning commission members.
I just want to say thank you for your understanding,
Oh,
Yes.
that's
because it
fine.
really is okay, I
But
know.
we were curious ourselves, because like he said, we thought we were commercial all along, and we didn't know until we,
I can't imagine the house having 16 phone lines.
Can't imagine paying for 16 phone lines. So yeah, appreciate your patience with us.
Item number 8, any remarks or inquiries by citizens? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Anything that's in this red line,
All
that
right.
big property.
Yeah.
That's the notification area.
Mary?
Adair,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
now the houses.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Cornelius.
Yes.
The property